This is the jellyfish the world knows as the immortal jellyfish. But is it really immortal? Can it truly escape death forever? This creature living in the ocean right now, that should not exist. It has no brain, no heart, no bones. It is smaller than your fingernail. And it cannot die. For decades, scientists dismissed it. A curiosity, a footnote, something that didn't quite fit the rules. But the rules, it turns out, were wrong. Every living thing on Earth ages. Every animal, every plant, every organism that has ever drawn breath, it grows old, and eventually it stops. That is the one rule no creature has ever broken. Until now. The Mediterranean Sea. Warm water, ancient coastline. A place that has watched civilizations rise and fall for thousands of years. Beneath its surface, a different kind of history is being written. Meet Turritopsis dohrnii, a jellyfish, and by every external measure an unremarkable one. It drifts, it feeds, it reproduces. It lives quietly in the spaces between bigger stories. But watch closely. When this animal is stressed, when the water turns cold, when food disappears, when its body is damaged, something happens that should be impossible. It doesn't die, it goes back, it reverts, all the way back to its earliest juvenile state. And then it starts again. Fully grown, to infant, to fully grown, over and over, indefinitely. No other multicellular animal on Earth can do this. None. The scientist who stumbled into history. The year is 1988. A German student named Christian Sommer is studying marine invertebrates on the coast of Rapallo, Italy. He is 21 years old. He is bored, mostly, scooping jellyfish out of the water, watching them behave, writing notes. And then, one of his samples does something he doesn't understand. A jellyfish, left alone in a tank, not fed, not maintained, instead of dying, reverted. Became young again, spontaneously. Sommer didn't know what he was looking at. Nobody did. Dr. Stefano Pirino, on camera. The first time I saw it, I thought it was a mistake, a contamination. Something had gone wrong with the sample. Because what we were observing, it simply did not happen in nature. Not like this, not completely. It took nearly a decade of follow-up research before the scientific community began to take it seriously. A paper was finally published in 1996, buried in a niche Italian marine biology journal, read by almost nobody. The world kept moving. For years, this discovery sat at the edge of science, acknowledged but not understood, fascinating but inconvenient. Because if it was real, if it was actually happening, then everything we thought we knew about aging needed to be reconsidered. How does it actually work? Here's where it gets strange. Or stranger, depending on how you look at it. All animals age because of something called cellular senescence, the slow, inevitable breakdown of cells over time. DNA accumulates damage, telomeres shorten. The body's ability to repair itself gradually fails. That's aging for every creature alive, including you. But Turritopsis dohrnii does something called transdifferentiation. When the jellyfish reverts to its juvenile state, its cells don't just divide, they change identity. A muscle cell becomes a nerve cell. A skin cell becomes a digestive cell. The entire biological blueprint is rewritten. Think of it like this. Imagine if your body, when pushed to its limit, could disassemble itself, break back down into raw materials, and then rebuild, from scratch, from the very beginning, not a copy, not a clone, the same organism, beginning again. That is what this creature does. Scientists are still arguing about what this means, whether the reset is truly perfect, whether errors accumulate across cycles, Invisibly, slowly. The jellyfish doesn't seem concerned. Why hasn't the world heard this story? Here's something that should bother you. This discovery, one of the most significant biological findings of the last 100 years, is still largely unknown to the general public. Ask most people on the street about the immortal jellyfish, and you'll get a blank look. Why? Part of the answer is funding. Research into Turritopsis dohrnii is notoriously difficult to fund, because the creature is hard to keep alive in captivity, ironic given what it supposedly does. They are fragile travelers, sensitive to handling, prone to dying in transit. The world expert on this animal, a man named Shin Kubota, at Kyoto University in Japan, has kept a colony alive in his lab for over 2 decades. He feeds them daily. He monitors them obsessively. He has witnessed the reversion cycle over and over, hundreds of times. He has also written pop songs about the jellyfish and performed them at local venues. Science is strange. The people who dedicate their lives to its strangest edges often are too. But Kubota isn't confused about what he's found. He's certain. His word for the jellyfish, immortal. Not metaphorically, not poetically, literally. What this means for us: there's a conversation happening in laboratories around the world right now. A quiet one, careful, methodical, and it sounds something like this. If a jellyfish can reverse the aging process at a cellular level, why can't we? The honest answer is, we don't know yet. The mechanism that drives transdifferentiation in Turritopsis dohrnii is real. It is documented. It is repeatable. But the genetic pathway that triggers it, the precise biological switch that says reset, has not been fully mapped, not yet. What researchers do know is that the genes involved in the jellyfish's process have counterparts in human DNA, homologous genes. Similar structures performing different functions. Dormant, perhaps, or repurposed. The instructions, it seems, may already be written inside us. This is where responsible scientists become very careful with their words. Because the distance between a jellyfish can do this, and we can apply it to humans, is not a short one. It is measured in decades, in failed experiments, in false hope and ethical debate, and hundreds of researchers quietly giving their lives to a question that may not be answerable in their lifetimes. But it is also not zero. The jellyfish is already everywhere. Here is something most people don't know. Turritopsis dohrnii, originally a Mediterranean species, is now found in oceans all over the world, every ocean. The culprit, scientists believe, is shipping. Cargo vessels take on ballast water in one port and discharge it in another. And in that water, too small to see, too tough to stop, the jellyfish travels. It doesn't need to survive the journey, it just needs to reset. Marine biologist Dr. Maria Milieta has called it a silent invasion. Not aggressive, not destructive in the way we typically picture invasive species, just persistent. Quietly, endlessly, persistently alive. In waters it has never occupied before, thriving, reverting, beginning again. There is a version of the future where this animal is everywhere. There may already be a version of the present where it is. What immortality actually means. We spend a great deal of time not thinking about death. And then, occasionally, something forces us to think about it very hard. The philosophers have argued for centuries about whether immortality would be a gift or a curse. Endless life, they say, would drain meaning from the moments that matter. If nothing is the last time, then nothing is precious. The jellyfish, of course, doesn't know any of this. It doesn't choose to reset. It doesn't remember its previous lives. It carries no nostalgia for the version of itself it used to be. It simply continues, over and over. In the dark water, alone, indefinitely. Is that immortality? Or is it something else entirely? Something we don't have a word for yet? Something that sits outside the human categories of life and death and meaning? Something that just is. Somewhere in the ocean tonight, in water that has existed longer than the idea of forever, a jellyfish the size of your thumbnail is beginning again. Not for the first time, not for the last. It doesn't know it's remarkable. It doesn't know it's broken. The only rule that was never supposed to be broken, it just drifts. It pulses, it resets. And maybe that's the most unsettling thing of all. Not that immortality exists, but that it doesn't seem to care. The only thing more extraordinary than an animal that lives forever is the fact that we almost didn't notice. If this made you think, even for a moment, about what it means to be alive, I'd love to know what you're thinking. Drop it in the comments. I read everything. And if you want more stories about the strange, quiet corners of science that don't make the news, you know what to do.